Build us up a crossing, make it strong to bridge the span.
In the fall of 1957, my grandfather stood right here on the Beauty Mountain overlook, high above the New River Gorge in West Virginia, and quietly rolled film. He didn't know it at the time, but he captured something that would soon be gone forever. Across the river, barely noticeable, is a bridge. A suspension footbridge stretching between two coal towns, Nuttallburg and South Nuttall, better known as Brown. I only discovered it years later while reviewing this old footage. A fragile thread of steel and wood suspended over a restless river, connecting two communities that depended on one another more than they ever realized.
We'll cross this raging river together, hand in hand.
Nuttallburg began in the 1870s, carved into sheer rock walls along the Chesapeake and Ohio Railroad. Coal was king, and this narrow strip of land wedged between cliff and river became a booming industrial town. Directly across the New River sat Brown, also called South Nuttall, built mostly to house workers and their families. Two towns, one industry, one mighty river between them. And for decades they lived their lives in rhythm with the rumble of coal cars and the hiss of steam. It was a rhythm that formed the slow heartbeat of the New River Gorge. Nuttallburg Mine stretched deep into the mountain through miles of dark tunnels, a place where daylight was a memory and time was measured in shovels and sweat. Above the ground, life was simple, though not easy. Homes clung to steep hillsides, gardens scratched into thin soil. Children learned early that the sound of a whistle could mean the start of a shift or the end of a life. But there was community, and across the river there was connection. From this very ridge where my grandfather once stood, you can see how close the towns really were. So close, yet divided by waters that were too wide to cross. That's where the bridge came in. Built in 1897, the suspension footbridge stretched more than 600 feet across the New River. Just narrow planks, steel cables, and a long walk suspended in open air. Every day, miners crossed it to reach their shifts. Mothers crossed it for supplies. Children crossed it for school. It wasn't just a bridge, it was a lifeline. A promise that no matter which side you lived on, you weren't alone. By the late 1950s, the coal was running out and the mines were closing. Families moved away and slowly the bridge fell silent. Time, weather, and rust did what they always do, and with the cables weakened, the planks decaying, one day the bridge came down. Today, only stone anchors remain, quietly holding their ground against the passing of years.
We were standing on the bank, throwing stones across the tide.
This film was captured just months before the end, a final glimpse of a world balanced between industry and memory. A moment when two towns still reached for each other across a restless river. And maybe that's the real story here. Not coal, not railroads, not even the bridge, but connection.
Is the water flow between us, and then there's rush.
Because in places like this where life was hard and the land unforgiving, people learned something simple. You survive by staying connected. By building bridges in wood, in steel, and in spirit. How we survive into the next generation depends on how well we build and maintain the bridges in our lives.
Now the current down below us can no longer choose our fate.
We strengthen our communities the same way, quietly, patiently. So let's remember to respect our differences and keep reaching across the gaps between us, one person at a time.
When you cross that raging river, I'll be there. When you cross that raging river, I'll be there.
Now I should probably add, I'm talking about good people here. If you happen to have a real scoundrel in your life, someone who's hurtful or abusive, then it's perfectly okay to tear that bridge down, salvage the lumber, and build yourself a nice, tall privacy fence. Because wisdom knows when to build and when to protect.
There's a shore beyond the river where the light is bright and clear. I'll be standing at the crossing when your shadow disappears. When you cross that raging river, I'll be there. When you cross that raging river, I'll be there.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this little look back into yesteryear in Fayette County, West Virginia. Have a good day.